Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday night edition of the Real Chat Daddy Show. I am your host, Chat Daddy. Back for another wonderful evening of news, entertainment news, and some other wonderful things that we have planned for you guys. It is Tuesday, June 16th. We are celebrating Father's Day all this week. We're celebrating dear old dad, Poppy, Paw, whatever you call him. We're celebrating all week long. And tonight I have a very wonderful special guest co-host. She's a veteran journalist, not only here in Chicago, but across the country. And she also has a new role that we need to talk about. And I'm going to let you guys explain what that's all about, because I've been knowing this fabulous woman for so long that she started out actually community involvement. Then she went into the the music business. And from the music business, she became a famous journalist. And now she's working for a congressman. Everybody ain't able. The one and only Miss Mary L. Datcher. How are you, my friend? Good evening.
I am good. Thank you for having me on the show. It feels, I miss my journalism chops a bit, because usually for the last few months, initially I jumped out of the role of global mix and getting everyone mobilized so they can be educated and keep on the latest trends in the music and the film business, and immediately went to becoming a campaign manager for one of the longest running congressmen in the country, Bobby L. Rush. And then the week of sheltered in COVID after the primary, I was asked to step into the role of district director for the 1st Congressional District on his behalf. So it has been truly a roller coaster ride.
Well, you know what, Mary? I just love and adore you. I probably have all of your business cards. I almost feel as if you're like Mary J. Blige. That's who you are to me. You know what I'm saying?
So I'm like, you do not want to hear me sing.
You're right. But Mary, I feel like I could be like, look, I remember the 90s Mary. I remember the 2000 Mary, so I'm very proud of you. You've continued to always just excel at everything that you do. The one thing that I will say about you, out of all the people I know in the industry, you have always stayed tried and true. You and I, whenever something go down, you always call me as a friend and a colleague. And what I love the most is that you and I talk about things that are very important to people, and we let them know the truth about a lot of different things. Absolutely. So it's an honor to have you here tonight. And honey, I'm gonna have to ask you about the popcorn before the night is over.
I almost popped some.
Well, I got plenty of tea in my cup, because, baby, I want to know about that popcorn. And, honey, we want to find out, was it Orville Redenbacher? What kind was it? Does Garrett send him special packets that he packed in his office? But we'll cover all that tonight. Mary is here with us for the first hour of the show. And then after that, we have a wonderful guest who's going to come by. She's a certified Alzheimer's disease and dementia care trainer. And so tonight, she's going to talk to us about dementia care. A lot of my friends have family members who are now in the early stages of dementia, and they don't know what to do necessarily. So tonight, she's going to talk to us about that in honor of Father's Day, because a lot of times people are just never comfortable when their dad starts to get a little out of whack and things like that. So we'll talk about, exactly what is dementia care and how people can take care of themselves. Well, Mary, I don't want to get started with the popcorn. I think we should talk about some other news stories, and then we'll segue into the popcorn. So how have you been pacing yourself throughout all of this? But again, a new job, the COVID shutdown, you're the world's greatest auntie. So you have, a young lady you take care of, all of that. How has this all affected you?
It's been nonstop. It truly has. And I thought that I would get a break between the primary election, the general, going back in my editor's seat at Bronzeville Life, helping my girl, my Edie Senstack Rice. And it just immediately, it threw us off. I was kind of working myself up to preparation anyway, because, we all read, we keep up on the latest trends. So it was really disturbing to me, actually back in January, what I was hearing about overseas and the progression of cases that were occurring, and the fact that this current administration was ignoring that. And so gradually I was preparing, telling my family, look, I'm squirreling away water. I'm making sure that I have some masks. It won't get here until a month and a half. That's not a good sign. And so meanwhile, I'm running a campaign, and I'm running a campaign with fairly new people who never worked on political campaigns, and to have that incredible experience to oversee a congressional campaign at that, and learn the good, the bad, and the ugly, and at the same time making sure that I kept my auntie hat on, because my 6-year-old niece is the world to me, and she progresses with me. I want her to experience the same, same path of seeing someone that looks like her and have a real positive role model at that. So it's the balancing act that I think all of us, especially Black women in general, we take on so much, and without sitting down and to immediately transition into a role of the confidence of the congressman to say, hey, I really would like you to consider this position, and we have to transition, and we have to assist our constituents in this transition. So it was incredible for him to be 73 years old and going, okay, I got to all of a sudden be this tech savvy, elder, and kind of rolling with him in that progression, but at the same time learning the federal side and being and putting my experience, because I love helping and educating people about what their civil their civic activities, their civic commitment is. We so often always hush up and go, well, my vote is not going to count, or it is, I need garbage pickup, so the congressman ain't doing nothing because my neighborhood looks like it is. Well, here's the educational point. You need to go and talk to your alderman. You need to go and talk to who your Cook County Board Commissioner is. You need to know who your state assembly reps are, from the state rep to the state senator. You need to know who all of these key people are and what their roles are before you start rolling into what the federal government end of it is, because it's made up of 432 members of the Congress. So that means that they move as a body. There's no one genius out of all of them that makes everything go according to how they want it to go. It is a moving body, and each representative really empowers and is that voice for those in their district that want change, and they add to that change in existing bills. Sometimes they're shot down, sometimes they're reworked so that there's a given chance and opportunity for monies to be in these communities, whether they're underserved, whether they're middle class, or whether they're other. And so I've been learning that end of it and becoming more of that face in areas that the congressman may need, a little bit more assistance in. So it's a growing position, and I find that who I represent stays in the media light. So then here's my media experience.
Right. That's true. That's
on top of that. So it's a moment.
Did the little Black girl from the west side of Chicago think that this is, because this is huge what you're doing now. Did you think that this was going to be the journey, or was there going to be another journey? And then I knew your dad was a very, big businessman on the west side. How did it all begin for you? And was this what you envisioned? Because when I say to you, you've knocked it all off the list, and now you've moved into government. To me, that's the highest pinnacle of any career.
Well, I'm gonna be very truthful. Being from the music and entertainment business, that was my first passion. My father hated that because I was gifted in art. I was one of those students that were always winning awards in art. And a lot of people don't know that about myself. I love art, and I was a really good artist. And he was a restoration artist himself, where he restored old photos as well as photographers. So he owned a photography studio, as well as a drop-off laundry, as well as several storefronts that he would rent out to various businesses. So his trade was photography and restoration of old photos. And so he wanted me to follow in his footsteps. And when I sprang on to him one day and said, look, I got an opportunity to intern and work at WGCI, and it's part of the Junior Achievement Program. And he was like, oh, that's cute. Let's see if this works for 2 or 3 months. And it turned out to work for way much longer than that. And he just didn't understand it because my older sister was an actress.
That's right.
And he just was like, okay, I'm proud of her, but I don't like what the business may represent. And he wanted his girls to be safe and not fall to what he says, the evils of the world.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And, we all had to take our own path. And my path was, I knew exactly what I wanted to do at the age of 17. I just knew that being in broadcast, being in that world, eventually transitioning into working the record side of things once I went through BMG distribution and Universal distribution and landed at Def Jam. And from that point on, I was like, okay, this is where I'm at. This is where I need to be creatively. I skipped college because I knew I didn't have to go to school to learn this. I knew the hustle growing up on the west side of Chicago and being on the main boulevard, Madison and Lotus. What's up, L-Town?
Oh, baby, what's going on?
West side, hey, CTA 20 all day, every day. So I learned that hustle, that drive. We're talking about in an age where you saw Bishop Don Juan rolling down Madison in his green Excalibur and his ladies of the night in their mandatory green.
Right.
This was part of West Side lifestyle where you walked around and you knew the Four Corner Hustlers and their marks. You knew the VLs. You knew them. You knew their families. You knew what they were about. And it's so funny to this day. I might roll over there, grab something to eat at MacArthur's, and it's always somebody that recognizes me. And they'll say, man, I knew your daddy. Aren't you old girl who daddy owned the photography studio? I'll be like, what?
Right. Yes.
Years later. So that part of me, and I'm a proud, South Side resident now. And it's no diss to my West Side folks, because I still have great friends that reside on the West Side. And but it's just the transformation of growth. I love living on the South Side because it's such a robust community of hope, entrepreneurship. I've never seen anything like it. And that's something I grew up on, is self-employment, self-preservation, self-love, knowing who you are, loving Blackness, good, bad, and ugly. And that's the beautiful thing of what I encompassed in this role.
I love it. I do. I think it's one of the best things ever. And I just, in a time where we're all learning to pivot, I think, my God, Mary, you just did it. You really did. And it now will allow you to meet even more people. It will open more doors for you. As you said, your journalistic background will never die. That'll always be there. And I see you continuing on, still penning great books and doing memoirs and, things like that. So I'm proud of you, my friend. I am, and I always have been.
Well,
glad to have you here. Yes, glad to have you here tonight. Well, Mary, let's talk about some of the top news stories of the day. Today, we found out a good friend of ours, Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul, has tested positive for COVID-19. His office announced today that the Chicago Democrat didn't feel well over the weekend, was tested on Monday. Raoul has been self-isolating since he began experiencing coronavirus symptoms. And he would be, I guess, the highest elected official in the state of Illinois who has tested positive that we know of. He has come forward and said anything. The governor says he's tested and he's fine. The lieutenant governor, I just had her on a couple of weeks ago, and she's been fine. She was on with me 3 weeks ago, and we had a wonderful conversation. But and here we are in phase 3, Mary. And now he has tested positive, and he's telling people on social media, look, this is no joke. And if we look at Kwame, Kwame looks great every time you see him. He looks healthy. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, he's absolutely right. And I'm an advocate. I actually, I'm going to get tested again. I was tested 3 weeks ago, negative, and I'm going tomorrow to get retested because unfortunately, we are in COVID times where you still have to be functional. You still have to go to certain press conferences. You got to have meetings. You're hoping to social distance yourself from, in these meetings. But what I've noticed is that people let their guard down. And perfect example, I was coming out the cleaners today, and I ran into a really good friend of mine and his son, and he was about to go in and hug and had my mask, and I said, elbow, elbow. He was, oh yeah, oh okay. And then his son came up, young, beautiful kid, and he was about to go in and shake my hand. And both of them were wearing masks, and I'm like, no, elbow. And it's just like, look, people, we want it to go back to where it was, but it's not. And you have to be very conscious when people come to me and they go, it's no big deal. It is a big deal because that brush of your cheek, that hug, that breath of talking too closely to you, this is airborne. It has been proven to be airborne. And unfortunately, and I have much love for Kwame, is that unfortunately he has to be a part of these meetings and these discussions around people that are very public and engage with the public. And so it's, how did he get it? Did he shake a hand unexpectedly? Did he roll in too close? What is the point? I worry about my congressman sometimes. We did a rally a week ago in Little Village. Back of Pilsen. And it was Black and Brown rally to show their camaraderie, that Black and Brown people don't have to fight. We're all in this together. And I'm a numbers person. Immediately I'm going, okay, the Latino numbers are high. They're at 41,000 plus in positive cases. Not to say that African Americans are not up there too, but I'm immediately looking at this young crowd and they are not social distancing themselves. And so what am I going to do? Run in front of the congressman and go, no, and he's a cancer survivor.
Right.
Because he feels, hey, I'm a public servant. This is what I signed up for. I have to serve in this capacity. I'll do as much as I can to be careful. Gloves, mask, glasses, but I can't live in a bubble and I'm serving the people. And that's the same thing for Kwame, is that he's serving the people. And unfortunately, he's in the line of fire, like so many wonderful first responders and essential workers. They're in the line of fire. And I think as people that are, patronizing in businesses, we have to be respectful that they're putting their lives on the line. So people, wear your mask, okay? Wear your mask.
Please, please. Wear your mask, wash your hands, stop being so nasty. Slow down. Everybody's so frantic to get out, and I understand it. I mean, every time I'm in the car, the air feels great. I enjoy being out, but I don't know if I'm ready for major events. I've only gone to 2 different things recently, and one thing that I went to, when it started getting a little bit too many people, I was like, I'm out. And then the second thing I went to this past Sunday, it was enough social distancing and people, high-fiving and wearing their mask and everything. But I'm like you, Mary, because I just read a story today where they've had to close a bar back down in Florida because 16 new cases from just people that were there one evening at one particular bar. And it just makes me wonder. And, I look at things like, people are quick to wipe their nose like this. People are quick to, talk and spit fly out their mouth. So I'm like, Mary, look, I'm very paranoid about this. Oh my God, what are we going to do next? And again, I just found out today that they have closed schools back down in Beijing, China, because they feel another wave is getting ready to come through Beijing, China.
Absolutely. It's really tripped out. And I don't know if you saw in London, they just recently had a report that more and more people under the age of 39 is contracting it at a higher pace than older people, but over 70 plus. And that's because it's this, and you gotta understand, people gotta understand it's a different kind of strain. Once you get through that first wave of strains, then you have a very stronger strain that's there, that's basically fighting through your immune system. especially if you're not trying to protect yourself. And the younger demographic in the beginning was like, oh, it can't affect me. It's an older person's disease or virus. And it's like, no, that's not true. It's about how your immune system is compromised. And until you know that you're really healthy and you have a strong immune system, you don't know until you get it.
Yes, absolutely.
That age group, they're not one to go and get a checkup twice a year. They're not one to really find out if they have high blood pressure or diabetes. They're not conscious of that until they get to a certain point in our age bracket where we're paranoid. Let me check this out. Is it allergies? What is it going on?
Right. Look, I know one thing. People are paranoid as hell to either sneeze or cough in public. You know what I'm saying? I know people who have said, I actually have gone to the bathroom on myself because I was scared to sneeze or cough in public. So I'm like, oh my God, disposable diaper sales are going up, but don't nobody want to sneeze or cough in public. You know what I'm saying? So that's the scary piece right there. Well, meanwhile, Illinois state health officials released numbers today as pertaining to COVID-19. They announced 623 new known cases of COVID-19. Unfortunately, we had 72 additional fatalities, bringing the total number of known cases in the state of Illinois to 133,639, with our death toll now being 6,398. And this is statewide since the pandemic has happened. And from what I'm understanding, a lot of the cases are in the Cook County area and the surrounding areas around Cook County. Other parts of Illinois, the numbers have dropped quite a bit. Also, Illinois state officials have reported that 18,729 new tests have been administered in the last 24 hours. And you're right, Mary, you were the one that told me you had the test, told me what it was, how it was to take it. I think you said you went up to Studio Grill to do it. It was relatively easy and simple to do. And so for somebody who has not had the test yet, Mary, what is the experience like? Because see, I was told that they go 2 inches from you calling on Jesus. Now that's what I was told. I don't know. So
well, in the beginning, yeah.
Oh, wait. Oh, did I? Hold on, Mary. Okay, there you go, babe. I'm sorry. I hit the wrong button. Go ahead.
In the beginning, they did like the first month because my mom's an essential worker. She's a home care provider, as well as a part-time worker at Amazon. And so she has both shifts. And I was like, look, you need to go get tested. And so in the beginning, these particular sites had it where they literally put that swab all the way down to your throat. And she was like, I can't get this taste out my mouth. Can't get this taste. And then now they've gotten it where it can administer it, and it has to stay in each nostril 15 seconds. So you ain't got to push it all the way in, but you've got to push it enough like you're really trying to dig up there and get a friend out.
Okay.
You got to get both of the nostrils, and then they allow you to put it in the vial. You have to do all that yourself. And they label the vial with your information. And depending on where you get the test, some places are within a half an hour, other places are within 24 hours, and other places that are more state ran are within 48 hours.
Okay. And so it's not as painful as we think. And then I'm thinking about doing the antibody testing as well, too. Now, have you done that one, too?
No, not yet. It's something about blood being extracted from me.
I'm used to that. I'm used to, as a leukemia patient, I'm so used to that. It's not even funny. Matter of fact, I walk around now like, just go and drain me, do whatever you need to do. All right. Well, here's the deal. This coming fall, they're thinking about Chicago Public Schools going back into session. The plan right now for Chicago Public Schools is that all children would be required, as well as staff, to wear face masks. There would be daily temperature checks done, as well as stringent cleaning will take place if the schools do open back up in the fall. And I know, you have Madam 6-year-old and you are a full-blooded parent when it comes to school and helping the 6-year-old. Mary, how do you think school will look in the fall because there's no way in the world, honey, they can have 32 children in a class, a teacher aide. The classrooms are already tight and packed now, so I couldn't imagine having 32 young people in there and you worried about if one of them sneeze or cough. And to me, it would just be crazy. What do you think about that?
I'm not down for it. I mean, anyone who has been around kids know that they are living germites, and their guard is so down because they're so caught up in the moment. And especially this fall, when returning students are just so excited to see their friends, they're so excited to be in their own little crowds and their sets, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to separate that. And they have this mentality that nothing can really affect them. We're the worriers. The adults are the worriers. And I think that there are going to be more opportunities for homeschooling, for homeschooling play dates. I have a couple friends that homeschool, and they have their own work study groups, and they go out there and they plan field trips just like any other school, but they have it at home and they remote learn. Like we had to go through all of that. And the only reason why I had to go through it because my sister and my mom works, and I was blessed enough to work from my home. But at the same time, I had to spend time with her and go through her lesson plan and relive first grade all over. And I just wanted to scream. So it's not easy. It makes you appreciate the teachers, but at the same time, you were literally doing a teacher's job because all you were doing was lesson plans and just making sure that the student did them. They showed up when they're supposed to in their Zoom calls. And here you are processing the same exercises and assignments, motivating this kid who is not used to what is taking place. And so now that I think that we're moving into that phase, I'm just fearful because a lot of these kids are, taken care of by their grandparents. And so when you move out that environment and you're in the household, and there are families that are intergenerational too, you're going at a higher risk, and contact tracing, looking at that to trace down where they initially may have gotten the virus. It's going to be keeping a lot of people busy. But does that prevent it? Once you have it, it's done. Once you have it, you have it.
Yes. Yes.
And that's the scary part, is that I think it's going to work for a good month. And I think they're going to revert back to sheltered in again. Once they see those numbers jumping up, it's going to go back.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I know people who have been diagnosed with COVID and then ended up being diagnosed again. And so, I know several people that happened to. They are fine. They're doing great. They self-quarantine for the 14 days twice. And so it just, I don't know. This is something that we don't know about. We hadn't heard of anything like this since the Spanish flu. And I mean, of course, influenza and swine flu, things like that. But I mean, this is something that has brought an entire world to its knees. And, our president is acting like, oh, poof, it'll be gone in a few minutes and it'll be dust and ashes. And I'm thinking to myself, we've lost way too many people. And I know too many people who have been diagnosed with this. And to say people with compromised immune systems, those that are 62 and older, it's a lot to make you just really be paranoid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And my advice is for people to prepare this summer to be more inside. It's going to be a long winter. And even from not only a physical, but from a mental health perspective to a financial perspective to how to make sure you're emotionally fit to handle this until we get a vaccine. And even with the trial period of those taking the vaccine, just to see how their reaction is, you won't know until really next year,
right? In
the fall. We won't know if, when this vaccine, where is it going to be available? How are you going to be able to get it? Who qualifies to get it? It's going to be an interesting take. And I understand that the city of Chicago is already taking people's information to be in their database. So when they do have the vaccine, they have an accurate number as to how much to order. See, it's not just about the vaccine itself. You got to order the vials. You got to make sure you have the needle. You got to make sure you have certain things to accompany that. And they're preparing because you got to prepare now.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I agree with you 100% on that. So we'll see how that all works out. I want to remind you guys that this coming Sunday is the 2020 Real Men Cook. As you guys all know, Real Men Cook has been around for a number of years. I want to almost say 4 decades, if I'm not mistaken. I know it was the late 80s, early 90s when Real Men Cook came on the scene. Well, just like all the other events, Real Men Cook is virtual this year. And we want to encourage families and dads throughout the country. They have a lot of wonderful programming going on. If you guys text the words Real Men Cook to 844-773-8392. Again, that's 844-773-8392. You can find out all the information about Real Men Cook. And this coming Thursday night here on the show, we'll welcome some people from Real Men Cook so they can give us a rundown of the virtual weekend that they have planned for Father's Day on Sunday. It's going to be a lot of excitement. And it's amazing, Mary, how we've all had to go virtual now. Who knew that an extra room in my place would turn into my studio? But it's been nothing but joy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, you and I were just laughing before we came on the show that, honey, it's so many platforms out here now for people to do what they need to do. Yeah. What do you think about all this new digital age? You've been pro digital age for years, but what do you think about all of this?
I like it. I don't have to go out there and find a parking spot. I ain't got to argue with the doorman. I ain't got to wait 30 minutes for my drink. I don't have to, it's certain things that you, as you get older, you be like, oh, I gotta go find a parking spot. Oh, I hope I don't have to stand in line. Oh, I hope I ain't gotta wait for this table. Oh, right. I was hoping not to be seen or see someone I know because I ain't dress up. Right. So I think the virtual thing is cool, but at the same time, it's summer Chicago. I miss summer Chicago because that's really enjoy the beauty of our city. You enjoy the beauty of our culture, our people. It's just a certain pride that I've noticed in the last 10 years of Black people. Like, we love to be around each other.
Yes.
And thank God for festivals like, Chosen Few allowed us to really see what Black togetherness without fighting, without any drama looked like. Then Hyde Park Brew, shout out to Jonathan Swain, then Eric Williams and Ken and Rob them at the Silver Room Block Party. And you have these beautiful, and then of course the neighborhood festivals, the back to school festivals, all the shout out to all the people that organized that for the automatic offices. It just showed, and then Bud Billiken, of course, I can't forget Bud.
Yes. But Mary, what's gonna happen with our beloved Bud this year? Do we know yet?
That's a conversation between you and my Edie, but she has some really cool plans.
Okay.
Up on the Bud. It just, like, again, it won't be where she's shutting down streets, but she and her team is phenomenal. They're trying to make sure that tradition is there for the young people, because a lot of young people do live for Bud. These dance schools, they practice their hearts out for the opportunity to be in the parade. And we see them on the side of Dan Ryan jingling they buckets. And I at least go through about $75 throughout the month, because here's $5. What's your date crew? And I just, it scares me because the little girls be in between the cars. I'm like, okay, where is the adult?
Yes, honey. I've called them out several times. Like, what is y'all doing? They determined to get that money. Right. They are. Yes.
So and just the wonderful parades, Pride Parade, Puerto Rican Day Parade, all that's just not gonna happen. So this is what we look forward to. And then this is supposed to be our winter phase. So it's okay when it's cold, but then oh man, I'm missing this.
Oh, I agree. I tell people all my little summer shirts, the most I can do is wear them on here and throw a
Yeah.
t-shirt on when I go to the store or whatever. So, I'm like, oh my God. Well, Mary, this past weekend they had the drag protest up in Boys Town. And
No.
I was telling Ursula, it was so funny. I said, well, Ursula, out of all the protests that we could go to and be a part of it and not too many people and won't be bombarded, and then we can get to enjoy all the drag, people that would come out and everything. Girl, thousands of people showed up.
Whoa, it's the
they said it was just like the Pride Parade without the parade, floats and all of that. And so when we saw that on the news Sunday night, we was like, oh, it wasn't what we thought it was going to be. Thousands and thousands of people showed up Sunday up in Town, and which is beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but she and I thought this was going to be like a little, go park the car, stand on the corner and protest and march with them. And, right. And it was like, hell no. Thousands of people showed up for the Pride, drag protest, which I thought that was so beautiful. You know what I'm saying? And that for Pride Month. So
drag lives matter, man. Drag lives matter.
Yeah. Yes. Well, Mary, look, honey, I'm ready to sip on my beverage and get the tea. So as you guys all know, Memorial Day, we found out about George Floyd. And, next thing you know, there were protests everywhere. Then we had the looting and rioting and most of our communities are still destroyed. Right now, I can't go walking get a loaf of bread anywhere in my area. I would have to walk a great distance to go get a loaf of bread. But the story that probably resonates the most with me would be the fact that Congressman Rush's office was invaded by some officers who, the rumor or the story is that they were invited there to hang out. They enjoyed coffee and popcorn and just made it a lounge. Meanwhile, it was a sister girl on TV driving away with a queen size mattress and a box spring on her car. Everybody's favorite Uncle George Daniels, his liquor store, they was in there like it was the dollar store walking out with stuff. So Mary, what the hell happened? What happened and what can you tell us as I sip my tea?
Well, it's twofold because the campaign office is located in the mall, 55th and Wentworth Mall. And initially earlier in the evening, I would say around 6:30 or so, just something told me, let me check on George Daniels. He's a very good friend of mine. And, he likes wandering. And I had already known that the looting had already began like earlier that day. And I was like, I just texted him. I said, hey, make sure that you stay inside because it's kind of getting a little lit out here. And by that time I was at home. Now I'm 7 minutes from the mall. I live in the Washington Park neighborhood. And he texted me back and said, man, WGN had already notified me because they saw that my store was being looted in their sky cam. And I'm like, what? So initially I just said, you know what? Let me go over there, see what's going on and check on the office, see what is going on here. So I over there and I got around and I noticed on the Wentworth side of the mall, there was a caravan of cars, just out of town license plates. They were coming from the back end of the stores facing the Dan Ryan. They were just going in, taking stuff. And I finally got into the parking lot and just saw just mayhem. And this was early evening. This is not where the peak of it, where you saw the woman with the box spring mattress putting it on her car. This was earlier. So I drove around, I sat there, I talked to security. They were told by police not to do anything. Don't stop it. There's nothing you can do. It's too many of them. And I rolled around to George's beverage depot and just when people were just coming in. And I filmed it and it's on my Facebook page. And at that point, I was just like, this is crazy. This is out of control. At that point, there was no damage to the campaign office, which sits in a tower building in the middle of the actual parking lot across from Family Dollar. And I said, okay, well, let me go back home. There's nothing for me here to do because it started to get to the point where it was becoming a very volatile situation. Even with me sitting in the truck, people were just going around me, looking to see what they can get, what they can grab. and you just did. It was a very surreal situation. Police was on the presence, but they were overwhelmed. They couldn't really do any force. It was just weird. And so fast forward, I'm like everyone else from my home watching Channel 7 Cam over the mall, and you see all this mayhem, and you see them in the furniture store. You see them just breaking in the Foot Locker. You see all this mayhem. And 9:48, I'm still on the alarm code because I'm the closest to the office. And as a former campaign manager, I'm closest to the office, and they still have me on the alarm alert along with the congressman as well. But I'm the first call because I can get there to the office quicker. And 9:48, they call me, Miss Thatcher, there's a glass break on the south end of the building. The door has been compromised. I'm like, there's nothing I can do at this point. And I told her, so there's nothing I can do. At this point, it is what it is. Well, do you want us to notify 911? You can try. I've already been getting reports from people from the community that they were trying to get to 911. They could not get through. And our alarms.
I've been trying to call them since 11 a.m.
Yes.
And, right. You never could get through. Never could.
No.
Right.
So it was nothing. And when I tell you, I said, well, I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do at this point. All I can do is call the congressman, let him and his wife know. They had already gotten the alert by that time. I said, there's nothing we can do. We took all the valuables out. There's nothing but furniture in there. And I explained to them, a coffee pot, a little refrigerator, and a microwave. That's it. So they were like, okay. I got called again around 12:48, 2 hours later. We get another compromise of the glass and the door opening. Again, you can try 911. Have you tried 911? Man, we're still working on it. No problem. There's nothing I can do. And this went on again, last call around 2:20, I think it was 2:14. Again, she was to the point where she was agitated. She said, when would you like these calls to stop?
Right.
5 a.m. Hopefully by that time, whoever's coming in and out will be done. I don't know what they're taking. And so I didn't get another call from the alarm people. And I went up there at 7:00 a.m. to assess the damage. I was like, okay, let me go up here, see what's going on. And just to let you all know, the congressman had lost his youngest sister that Sunday morning. So all this was going on. The air was out of him. So him processing that on top of, hey, this is looting. His mind was not about protecting our office. It was like, let it be what it is, right?
Right. Sure.
So I told him, I said, I'll let you know, report once I assess the damage. Went there, saw the mall owner and his team was going around trying to talk to some of the shop owners who just, their businesses were just annihilated. I mean, when I tell you, it was tears. I felt it because the glass break of our office was nothing compared to a lot of what they lost. And when I went in there was really nothing taken that I noticed, glass everywhere, but I also noticed that our furniture was rearranged and there were full trash cans, and that office was pretty much immaculately clean. We always left it clean. We used it for primarily the primary. The congressman wanted to keep it so that he can prepare for the general election and to keep it until November. So all that was down, there was a lot of furniture, chairs, tables, everything was off the wall, no computers. Because we weren't going to be there. The team was not going to be there in that capacity. So got a cleanup crew, wonderful people, wonderful young people that came and helped the entire mall clean up their items. East Lake management boarded up everyone's stores. And first thing was first, the alarm people basically was contacted to see what is their footage so that we can make our own assessment as to what happened. I took pictures of everything.
Right. I don't blame you. Like me.
And the alarm technician came the following day, pulled the footage, And what we saw on there was just whoa. And the initial break was about 8 to 9 young people that broke the window. Was in there less than a minute. Went to the back, didn't see anything they wanted. They rolled back out. And speed up. That's when we saw our men in blue, men and women in blue. And initially they came in, make sure that it was clear, but when we started seeing the progression, blinds started going up, signs started being taken out the window, rearranging chairs, getting real comfortable so they could see a view out in the parking lot. Started out with 3 or 4, then it progressed to 5 or 6, then it went to another 10, then initially it was at 13 in the room. And this went from 12:48 a.m. to around 4:30 a.m.
A whole damn shift.
Yes.
A damn near whole shift for them.
Yeah. And I say this because it's nothing new. This is something that the mayor has expressed. She showed the photo stills. People ask, well, why did it take so long? Well, let's process this. The congressman lost his youngest sister, tried, losing someone close to you and dealing with that and the restrictions of how you're going to deal with their arrangements and how you're going to make sure the right family members are present for a service that's 50 or less. Then you're dealing with congressional hearings and committees. Then you're dealing with the loss of another good friend, Dr. Conrad Worrell.
That's right.
You're dealing with, well, we already saw the unrest of what happened when something like this is so raw and open. Will we start another riot? Will we start another situation where our businesses are literally licking their wounds? So, bottom line, he was like, I have to reach out to my alderman, Alderman Pat Dowell, and we have to bring this to the mayor. This needs to be handled because there's no way that you're sitting on the job at that length. We're not talking about, I just need to chill because I had 14 hours on my feet all day. This is 4.5 hours. And the South Side and the West Side was burning, on a whole different level. And Wicker Park, okay? And Lakeview. So, and downtown. This is not just a Black issue. It was across the city. Right. So he brought it to her. And that weekend passed because everybody was doing, they're doing a protest. So people are like, why is it? Well, there's a lot that goes on. You're not available to sit down yet. You got this going on. So by the time that meeting happened, it was about a good week and a half. Wow. And the decision was made immediately by the mayor, by the superintendent, the new superintendent, Brown, to go public with this. And when I tell you, Wednesday night, they received the footage. Thursday afternoon, they were releasing the stills and the information to the public. And in that moment, it wasn't about the popcorn. It was about letting people know that the audacity that one can sit back and eat popcorn in such a strenuous, very high strung, dangerous moment in our lives shows you the severity of lack of commitment to the community. So it wasn't about popping my popcorn in my microwave. It was more like the audacity that this was not taken seriously enough.
That's right. That's right.
To prioritize not only the community in which you serve, but your fellow colleagues who are out there getting banged up to protect businesses or to make sure that it didn't get totally out of control. And they were shorthanded from what I understand. Now, here's the controversy around that. And I was very vocal about it. It was about 100 plus people, police officers, SWAT team at North Avenue in Wales, holding down 15 to 20 white young protesters.
I saw that. I did. Right.
Where was the shift? Where was the shift? That was where a lot of Black public officials were really concerned. We're all seeing this. This is not nothing new. We're seeing this unfold on TV that night. Why is there 100 plus police officers and SWAT team protecting Old Town? And they're not being utilized to protect our small businesses in our underserved communities that are just overwhelmed because it's just people from out of town, because there was a lot of out of town plates, and there was
that's what I was told. Yep, that it was a lot of, that I guess young people drove as far away from Indiana, Ohio, that it was like a whole movement on social media that we finna go to Chicago and get our get down on. Because somebody was telling me, like, some places, and I said this the other night on the show, that it was almost like you have roaches in your kitchen. You turn the light on and hundreds of them just start scattering. And I can imagine that's overwhelming for the police. But I also don't need you sitting up on your ass while these hundred of roaches or whatever is looting and tearing up everything.
Yeah, I mean, we were just stunned. And to imply by the FOP that a staffer gave them permission and let them in and said, make yourself at home, is ludicrous. And it just lets you know that they don't know the history of Congressman Rush. They don't know the friction over the years, and him as a Black Panther had to experience. This is still traumatic for him to this day. Would not call on the police to protect an office that's not even his district office, but a campaign office that only has furniture. We didn't care about that. If they tore it up, they tore it up. It's a building. What we were concerned about is, why aren't you protecting those real brick and mortar businesses that live and die and contribute to this community by hiring people that look like us, and now they don't have a job to go to?
No, not at all.
To get their insurance, and the adjusters got to come out and hope that they have enough to cover the loss. That's what we were more concerned about, not sitting around protecting our office. We got receipts. And what really is disturbing is when you have other media outlets, especially Black ones, going along with this silliness without verifying it from us. And that disappoints me as a former member of the press, especially particularly the Black press, because I've always tried to reach out and do my research and build those relationships with people that I thought I knew that could give me more of an insight before I started coming to conclusions. So I wanted to put on record, and especially with your show, because the congressman, he said what he had to say. The one thing about me, I know the actual state of affairs throughout that whole night. And I'm not ashamed. Ain't nothing to cover up. Ain't no conspiracy. Yes, security shared an office in the back of the building, but they did not have a lease to have that office during that time. It's a campaign office under the guise of his campaign organization, Citizens for Rush. And like I said, being a former campaign manager, I happen to still be on the system, the alarm system, because I'm the closest to the office.
And you be there late and putting people, helping people in and out. We get all that. That makes sense.
So that's why, we've been very cooperative with everyone from the CPD and giving them real information and not holding back on anything. So
we have a comment here. Mother Diva says, hey, Mother Diva, why didn't congressmen immediately press charges against the police for loitering? And if they made popcorn, that is stealing. If he, as pressing charges, it has been made public. So have any charges been made, as far as that goes?
There has been a complaint filed, criminal charges for stealing a $1 bag of popcorn. It's about making sure that the city and the COPA sees fit on how they're going to reprimand these officers and how that process is. And I think that's my dog. Out of respect.
That's all right. Your dog is chiming in too. Your dog is right. Yes, Mary. Mary. That's right. Security.
Security. So we're letting that due process go. What the reason why he did come out, so that people can understand, again, it wasn't just about that popcorn. It was the metaphor of what that popcorn represented. That's what the important. He is obviously a very theatrical statesman who likes to make his point very known, because it's almost like saying, okay, you came into my house uninvited, knowing I wasn't there, kicked your feet up on my coffee table, went into my refrigerator, got the last of the milk to make you some cereal, and you didn't tell me jack.
Right.
All this was going around and people were stealing and breaking into and mugging, and you did this without any remorse. What else are you hiding? What else are you not doing? And I think that we deal with this every day. This is nothing new. People have alarm systems. We weren't the only ones. Almost every business in that mall had an alarm system, and we are not the only one that has footage. Let me make that very clear.
Right.
So it's an ongoing investigation, and I think that what he wanted to do was allow that due process to take control of that, because obviously there were 3 white shirts in that same room who are supervisors in the Chicago Police Department, and the sense of non-urgency from the officers involved was probably because they weren't given any real direction or sense of urgency of where they needed to be at the time, besides so it's not just falling on the officers, it's falling on their supervisors and their leadership in that capacity.
Jimmy Red just said they had a casual attitude about what was happening. He also said making double time sitting on their butts. I can only imagine, Mary, is just too much. And you know what I hate more than anything is all of this is boiling down to just more and more racism as we see it. Here we are out here talking about Black Lives Matter. We want to be heard. We want to be understood. I think what happened with all that looting was so tragic in many ways. But then now for me to see, white police officers just sitting around on their ass, and then for the congressman to say, even ate my popcorn. Every time I go in the store, I get him a box of popcorn. When I see him, I'm gonna have a case of it for him. It hurt me. You know what I'm saying? To know that we should be protected better than what we are, and then to see footage of it, it was too much. Too much.
Let me tell you something. You did not see the footage. You saw the stills of the footage, and when the footage is released, it's 3 times, if not 5 times worse.
Oh, Lord, don't tell me that. Lord.
That's one of the main reasons too that we were like, whoa. When you see it. It's disappointing. And let me tell you something, the cops and the people that we talked to that are doing an investigation, shout out to them, because they were like, we are so sorry this happened. We are so sorry this had to happen in the way that it happened. They were super apologetic, because there are good, real, dedicated officers that are in our police force that were like, this is messed up. They weren't jumping to their defense like you thought they were. They were just like, whoa, this just does not, it makes it worse. So everyone's shouting, defund the police, and, with the due reason to do so. And especially when you see something like this, you're just like, what other excuse that you're going to have when the pensions of police officers are going up and leaning so much on taxpayers right now?
Right. Here's the deal. Was there any audio as well, Mary, or was it just all video?
Yeah, it was all video.
Okay. Yeah, honey, y'all need to get them cameras. Look, they get the audio and the video. Right. I love it. But I mean, facts are facts. And when you have proven evidence, there's not much people can say. So they're now, before I have to let you go, my friend, they're now wanting to take the Chicago police officers out of the public schools. I wanted to know your take on that real quick before we have to run. The last time I was in a public school, I really thought I was entering into a prison system. Girl, metal detectors, pat downs, all of that. I didn't know that our children are subjected to that type of thing. You know, I mean, hell, I can go to the airport with the easy pass and not have to go through as much as our young children have to go through every day. And so what do you think about that? I think they need security in school, but I don't know, you know, the Chicago police, and I can only imagine how much they're making being there.
I think the level of security in certain schools are overkill, especially if you don't have a history or track record for having a great deal of violent activity. But let's keep it real. There are instances and there are schools that are in the heart of gangland activity, and they will pull it. They will come in and they will pull it. And, you know, it's really a safety mechanism for other students. The problem is that sometimes force is used so heavily against these kids. So I think they're going to have to find a happy medium, maybe retain or have an RFP for a private security firm with community engagement skills to be an alternate without having the use of deadly force. But it's a trick bag, because then you have parents that are really concerned about their children in these situations that may endanger them. So it's easy to say defund, take them out, but then what are you left with for those that don't follow the rules? And yeah, there are a small group that don't follow the rules, but that small group, as we have seen with that small group of cops beating down and killing Black people, can make the whole department stink and the whole force stink and overshadow the real stories from officers that do real good work in our community.
Right. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Mary, you got a wonderful message. Ursula is on here.
Hey,
and
Ursula.
she said she can't believe we're not going to see. She said, hey, Mary, good to see you. We can't hang out with you and your sweet little niece this summer, because we are actually a running group. We do. Taste of Chicago, all of that. So Ursula is sad that she won't be able to see you and your niece. Maybe, you know, we can include you two in our social distancing of no more.
We'll do a social distancing gathering, and you know, Simone, she's with her mom, and you know, she got to do the mommy time. So I have to, you know, I've been without her for about 3 weeks, and she's going through withdrawal. So I'm like, it'll be okay. You're gonna grow back with TT. So I can't wait.
Well, we'll have to invite you all over when we have a group of less than 10, and you know, we'll have plenty of social distancing, because we miss you too. We really do. Well, Mary, you've done an outstanding job tonight. I just love and adore you, my friend. In closing, what do you want everybody to know and we say and all that great stuff, and how they can continue to support you in all your efforts?
Well, I mean, just support our businesses, our neighborhood businesses. Not only just our Black-owned businesses, but our neighborhood businesses that have been in the community doing what they do for so long, that have contributed in some capacity. And I'm talking about the ones that have contributed to give back to the community, because you have those that have literally reaped the community of everything they can and take it out of our community and go back to the suburbs. And we have to hold them accountable as well. So I think that we have to really be aware, self-educate ourselves. Don't rely so much on just public servants. They are there, of course, to serve their constituents, but they are not the be all to end all. You have to also do your due diligence and research. Don't fall for the okie doke. Social media is not always the go-to for all the accurate information. Delve, give facts. If you have questions, ask the right people. Don't fall for that. So, you know, you can reach me, First Congressional District. You can always call out to our office. It's listed. And if there's a problem or concern in a federal capacity, our office will look up your address and make sure you're in our district. And if not, we always give you to one of our fellow congressional districts, whether it be Congressman Danny Davis or Congresswoman Robin Kelly. You know, we make sure that you're served. And I have to say, my office does an incredible job, despite what people may or may not think. You just have to reach out.
All right, my love. I love you so much as always. Look, I feel this is just me and you always talking. This is how we talk all the time.
Yes.
We just allowed the world to be in on our conversation tonight. And I know your schedule is busy, crazy, but I was so glad you took some time out to talk with me because, again, I was just devastated behind that. And then, like I told you, every time I go to the grocery store, I said, Lord, let me get the congressman some popcorn. I just feel,
you're my first, just to say this, and to all your viewers, Art is my first media person that I have openly discussed this with. I may have chimed in a couple times to certain people's Facebook posts when I think they're out of pocket with their information. And even then, I kind of hold back because, sometimes you just want the investigation to go. But I feel very compelled and very comfortable discussing it with you because it's facts. And like I said, anyone can reach out and ask in terms of the media, real credible media. And I would gladly, communications director Jeremy Edwards is wonderful. But when it comes to the breakdown of facts, it's what it is, and it's nothing less than that.
Yes. Well, I love you, my dear. Ladies and gentlemen, our special co-host for the first hour of the show. She's a veteran media journalist, has been doing that for many, many years. She did that pivot, baby. And now she's the director of the 1st Congressional District of Congressman Bobby L. Rush, a former Black Panther, a gentleman who has been doing some outstanding work. And she's here tonight to just kind of lay it all out and tell us what happened with that break-in situation, the police deciding to make the congressman's Southside campaign office their lounge and eating and drinking and just doing inappropriate things. And so, Mary, we do appreciate you. We do. Yes. And hope everything gets back to normal over there at the office.
Absolutely.
And all of those business owners, we need them to come back as well, too. Do we know any progress of that so far?
Well, I know one thing: they're fighting really hard to keep Walmart in the city. They're fighting. The city of Chicago is fighting. They do not want to return to Chicago, but we'll see how that turns out. And I think that they're a very vital part of having access to so much. But they're going to have to work on some things on their end in terms of management, better training, better inventory. Retention of lost inventory. And I think those are some of the issues they're trying to say, but I think that hopefully they'll work it out. And so those are one of the bigger box stores that they're fighting for, very much so.
All right. Well, I hope everything comes back to normal. I hope people have learned their lessons. I hope everybody that got the ghetto come up, as I call it, I hope y'all chill, relax, stop messing with people.
But karma's not good.
Girl, come on. And God don't like ugly. You understand me? I agree with you. That's a whole nother look. Me and you have to get a bottle of wine and talk offline because I got some theories about a lot of things. But Mary, thank you so very much. Our next guest coming up in just a second. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for my girl, Mary L. Datcher. We love you, Mary. Have a great night. Thank you so much. All right, listen. Coming up tomorrow on there's my next guest. I'm going to fade you out for a minute. I'm going to bring you back with an introduction. Hold on a second. All right, here we go. Listen, on the Wednesday night edition of the Real Chat Daddy Show, I have my good friend, Mr. Mike Ray. He'll be our co-host tomorrow night. He is the host of a relationship rehab radio show, as well as he is the host of a show called United Guns of America. Both his shows are featured on YouTube. He'll be here tomorrow night to talk about what Black Americans should know about politics. He'll also be here to talk about relationship mistakes that we constantly make in our relationships. And then we're going to talk about the importance and impact of fatherhood. A lot of gentlemen may be a daddy, but a lot of guys don't know the impact that fatherhood really has on a man's life. Well, our next guest this evening is a young lady who I'm excited to talk to her with Father's Day coming up this coming Sunday. I've had this conversation with quite a few of my male friends about their dad's behavior changing. And when it's a young man who idolizes and adores his dad, and then all of a sudden you start to notice that your aging father is changing. He's not remembering things. He may be argumentative. it's a lot of elements that go on with it. And more people are being diagnosed with dementia now more than ever. And here to help us tonight to talk about what is dementia care. Believe it or not, there are stages and phases to it. We have a woman who is the expert of it all. That's why I'm so excited to have her here tonight. She's a certified Alzheimer's disease and dementia care trainer. She is the owner of a wonderful healthcare service that we'll talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Real Chat Daddy Show. It's almost another show, but it is the Real Chat Daddy Show. She is the one and only Felice Steerless. Yay! How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good, darling. So glad to have you here with us tonight. I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me tonight?
Yes, that's much better now.
Okay, good. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your home care business that you started. And then I want to get into this topic at hand, and we have plenty of time. So don't rush yourself. Go right ahead.
Okay. Well, yeah, my name is Felice Searles. I am the owner of Nancy's Home Care Agency. And with Nancy's Home Care, we provide non-medical in-home care services. We work with seniors. We also work with people with disabilities. We help with their home care needs. My specialty and my focal areas with my agency, I work with Alzheimer's dementia. I also work with patients recovering from cancer, stroke, and also fall injuries. I am also a United States Air Force veteran. I spent 20 years in the Air Force and I retired in 2014. My agency, I'm located in Chicago.
Very good. So now I want to talk about, thank you for serving our country as well, too. I'm always honored to talk to anyone who has served our country, and we really do appreciate you. Now, let's start off with what is dementia care plan? And first of all, many of my friends have said, you know, my dad's not acting right, my mom's not acting right. What are some of the earliest stages that we know that our loved one is suffering from dementia?
Well, some of the common things we see is the memory loss. Sometimes we notice mom, dad is really forgetful. It could be things like they forget our names, or they forget where they place things. They forget, that they had lunch 20 minutes after eating lunch or dinner. And a lot of times we attribute that to age, especially if we have an aging parent, a parent that's in their 70s, their 80s. We think, oh, mom, dad is just, losing their memory. But those are the initial signs of it. But then as the disease progress a little bit more, some of the other signs will be just more in detail in terms of they forget a whole sentence. They forget how to pronounce certain words, things that they used to do with no problem. They forget. They may, start losing their memory on how to drive, do things that they've been doing for the last 20, 30, 40 years of their life. All of a sudden, they just forget how to do those things. So at that stage, that's really when it's time to go. Well, I would say go get a diagnosis, or at least get it looked at in the early stages. I think a lot of times we take for granted, we think because, our parents are older, they're getting old. And memory loss is a part of aging sometimes. Or being forgetful, I would say. Not so much memory loss, but being forgetful. It kind of happens with age. But when you start noticing those things, mom forgetting to, do simple things like, brush her teeth in the morning, mom, haven't had a bath or bathed herself in a couple days. And when you ask her questions about it, she, I'm okay, even though she's always been someone that had good hygiene, but all of a sudden you notice that she doesn't want to take a bath or a shower anymore. Or she forgets, or she cuts the stove on and she leaves it on. And now you notice that, she's burning food, or he's burning his dinner more. I think at that point, it's definitely time to, take your parent, take whoever it is, the loved one, to the doctor for that formal diagnosis. With dementia, it's best to get it diagnosed as soon as possible, as early as possible. But oftentimes we wait until it progresses, until we decide to get that diagnosis. But I think when you initially start noticing that mom, dad is doing things differently now, things that they've been doing the last 50 years of their life, all of a sudden, it could be simple. It could be little things that, forgetting what how to drive, or forgetting how to get from point A to point B. It's time to go get checked out to see exactly, make sure, because it could be just normal aging, but we want to make sure.
My mom had early onset dementia before she passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that she had become very argumentative and combative. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the things that she was saying was, come to find out, was true. Or, it was kind of like she was in her right mind one minute and then was kind of out of it the next minute. And that's mm-hmm. kind of how I knew something was going on. Is that very common with people who suffer with dementia?
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes for example, veterans. I'm a veteran and I took care of a lot of vets, some with dementia as well. So they start talking about stuff during battle, wartime, where they could be having a regular conversation and they go way back and tell you about stories as if it was something that was happening to them today. That's common. I also had a particular person I work with who, he would tell you he was everything. He was a general. He was a writer. He was everything. Just you want to entertain it, but at the same time, it's kind of unusual. And come to find out, he actually has some early stages of dementia as well. So that is definitely something that's common in the early stages of it.
Okay, so now what is dementia care plan? I mean, we live in a day and age now, and you're a businesswoman, you have a wonderful business that supports a lot of people, but it seems as if everybody now is being more proactive about
mm-hmm.
Helping people to get through things.
Mm-hmm.
And I ain't gonna lie to you, I have never heard of a dementia care plan, but I would imagine to stay proactive to help your loved one, you would have to have a plan in place, because then if not, you'll be like me, ass out when it happens to your parent. Right. Exactly right. You be ass out when it happens to your parent. So how does the plan all work?
So the dementia care plan, as we talked about, when you start noticing those subtle changes, go get a diagnosis. That's the first step. Go take your mom, your dad, your loved one to the doctor. Once you get that diagnosis, now it's time to have a plan in place. How are we going to care for our loved one? How are we going to care for mom during this battle or during this challenge? One thing about dementia, whether it's Alzheimer's, whichever form it is, dementia is a progressive disease. Alzheimer's in particular is very progressive. It gets worse. There's different stages of it, and as they get to the other stages, it gets, it can become very, difficult to deal, to work with. It's difficult to maintain that level of care that we're used to. So that dementia care plan is basically coming up with a plan early on that discuss, okay, right now, mommy may not need a caregiver, for example, or may not need any additional support. However, when it gets to, let's say, phase 2, mommy now is starting to act out more. Mommy is wandering now. What kind of care will we have in place during that time? Will we have someone that can come and stay with mom, or will we be able to do some sort of home care where we have to take mom to an assisted living, a memory care? So it's basically just having a plan of care. And I think it's important to have that plan so that as the disease progresses, you're not totally surprised at what's going on and you're not shocked by it. You already have a system, you have a care plan that kind of works you through that. So it's basically just having a plan.
Okay. Now, for most people, that plan and that care, for us minorities, for us Black and brown folks, and that limited cash on hand, a lot of times that means just put mama in that back bedroom and y'all check on her. But and I know, you provide a great service and a business, but this is also something that we really need to look at. Is this paid for by Medicare, or how does one finance this? Because this is just the early stages. I had a friend that said to me today that, she dealt with this with her mom from, I think, 85 to when her mom died at 101. And right. You see what I'm saying? So, honey, that's a lot to deal with. So how does this all look?
So how it would look? So yeah, there's different things that you can do during the plan of care. So number one is what I do is home care. So if it gets to the point to where mom, dad is at home, both seniors unable to really take care of themselves, you can actually hire someone to come in and provide care. Now here's the thing with having someone come in. A lot of times there's that stigma associated with that where I don't want nobody that's in my home, or mom really don't need a lot of care. Maybe, mom can be alone for a couple hours, but mom forgets to feed herself or mom forgets to bathe herself. I have to go to work. I'm still working. I have children. I have responsibilities. So I think having someone early on, even if it's just for 4 hours, a couple days a week, is really good. One way you can pay for it, of course, there's out of pocket, which is you just pay cash for it. But then there's a lot of other programs that's available to help offset the cost of home care. Medicare, for example, depending on the plan that you have, there are some Medicare plans that will actually cover so many hours of home care services. And then there's also Medicaid. Now, Medicare is a federal program. Medicaid is more of a state program. It's also income based. If the person, your mom, dad, is eligible for Medicaid, which is the state program, they can receive anywhere up to 8 hours a week up to 30 hours a week of home care, and it's free. So that's something that's provided by the state. And then of course there's also, you have senior living facilities that offer all kind of programs. You have memory care facilities that you can put your mom in if you feel that that's an option. Also, you got day programs. So maybe you don't want to put mom in a facility. Maybe right now you don't feel home care is what mom really needs at this point, but you want mom to be able to go out and to still be engaged. Because I think with dementia, it's so important early on that you try to engage the mind as much as possible. So
Okay.
at these different day programs, and a lot of the day programs, they are provided or they are paid for. There's funding, I would say, available from the state of Illinois, for example, that can actually help offset the cost to be in a day program. But in these programs, they can be there pretty much all day. It's like a daycare, but it's for seniors, really. But they have all kind of
Right.
activities to keep them engaged. They have outings, they feed them. So it's just really a place where seniors can kind of get together and just stay engaged. So I think that's also a great option. So I think, exploring your options is key, doing it early on. So maybe home care right away is not really a viable option. So maybe daycare. But like I said, as the disease progresses, maybe doing a daycare or elder care center is not the best option because of where they're at in their memory loss. So then home care would work in there as well. And then, of course, you do have assisted living facilities. You got nursing homes and things of that sort.
Well, honey, we scared of nursing homes right now.
We
We
are.
look, I wouldn't even send the most horrible relative to a nursing home. Look, I don't even want to go to doctor's appointments right now. You know what I'm saying? Because we just don't know. And I forgot to ask you early on in the interview, with you being in this line of work and COVID-19, what impact has this made on your business? I mean, just, personally as a business owner, and, here you're trying to love and nurture people's loved ones.
Right.
But I know, you, like many people in the home healthcare business, you guys take all kind of precautions and things like that.
Yeah.
But I can only imagine that this has been extremely taxing, just trying to deal with the new way of our new normal.
It is. I think now, as we're kind of into like phase 3 of it. It's a lot easier now. But in the beginning, it was definitely taxing. There was that concern from both the client and also the caregiver. And as an owner, I was really concerned about sending caregivers in, especially since we deal with our demographic is seniors, elderly people with medical challenges. So just having that concern for me of sending a caregiver in, even though that caregiver may not have any signs of COVID, but going into the home. And then, of course, with the client, they at that point, because it was so much unknown, there's still a lot of unknowns about it. They were kind of fearful of having a caregiver come in as well. So in the beginning, when it started, it was definitely very challenging. with the care. A lot of clients, they opted, just to kind of wait a while for it, and then as well as the caregiver. But now it's starting to come along. But as an agency, I definitely practice precaution. All my caregivers wear a mask. I screen, make sure they don't have a fever. If they exhibit any kind of signs of sickness, I make sure I don't even allow them to go into the home. I, make sure I stay abreast on what's going on, make sure that they're as healthy as possible when going into the homes. But yeah, it's definitely been, I think overall in the industry, a lot of changes has come about, a lot of uncertainties now. When getting clients, getting patients out of the rehabs, out of nursing homes, because I've actually picked up a few from a nursing home as well. So just being in that environment, and then so you have to kind of wait that 14-day period before you can actually start services, just to make sure that everything is okay. So yeah, it's been very challenging, but I think we're now starting to kind of work through it, and this is business is definitely picking up now. People are it's still needed. People still need that care at home.
So I can imagine dealing with families probably is an interesting dynamic as well too, especially when if the mother or father has had several children, and I don't think mama or dad is that bad off, and the other child is saying, well, no, mama just set the house on fire yesterday. I mean, so that family dynamic, I'm sure, is interesting as well too. And so have you come up with any particular ways of how to help these families? Because difficulty comes in all colors, you know what I'm saying? Right. So this is just not a black or brown thing. This my mama, this my grandmama, and you have the believers and the non-believers. So how do you deal with the family dynamic and all of this?
When I go out, normally when I get the call, I go out and do a assessment. So I go into the home, and I try to go into the home, and I want to make sure as much as possible that the decision makers, whoever is going to be involved in the process, is present. And of course, I let them know. And I more so than anything, I try to emphasize the importance of having a caregiver and why we're needed there. A lot of times, like you said, maybe the sister is like 100%, yes, mommy need this care, but then the brother's like, well, no, my mommy don't need this care, and we don't need nobody coming to the home. But just trying to really just explain to a point to where we're not just there to, clean up or just to sit there and just be on our phone all day. Because that's the stigma a lot of people have about home care, that, the caregivers, they're going to come in here and steal from us. They just going to come in and, sit around. We're paying them, or we're having them in our home, and it's a lot of stigma with that. So it's really, for me, because I always do the orientation or the initial assessment, just reassuring them that, first of all, explaining what is home care. Home care is not just having a caregiver there just to look at mom while she laying in bed all day. I make sure my caregivers are very involved in that plan of care, because I do help the family with a plan of care. So we outline exactly what type of care it's going to be. If mom is receiving some kind of PT, because a lot of times they're receiving physical therapy at home, as well as sometimes having a nurse come in. So we are, as caregivers, involved with that plan of care. So once you really explain that it's more than just we're coming in there, we're going to cook and clean, but then we're going to sit there the rest of the time. But we're actually here to ensure that mom continues to live as independent, as safely, and as healthy as possible while at home. Because our goal as caregivers is to keep your loved one at home for as long as possible. And like you said, Chet, prevent them from going into that nursing home. We want to keep them at home. That's our goal. That's why home care is here, because if it ain't for us, then that would be pretty much for so many, that's the next option. And we want to keep them because they want to be home. The seniors want to be home. They bought that home back in 1940. They didn't live in that home since the 40s. They married, had all their children. They raised their children. This is home. They don't want to leave. So my job is to keep them at home, make sure that they have some sort of exercise if they can. Now, it depends on the situation, but if they can get up and walk from the living room to the kitchen and walk back, that's what we're here to do. We're here to make sure that they continue to, exercise to whatever limit they can exercise, that they eat well, Just ensure that they live at home as long as possible, but also maintain a good quality of life while they're home.
I love it. I really do. I want everybody to be taken care of. I want everybody to be healthy and well. In our aging population, things happen just like you raise a child. When people get to be a
Absolutely.
certain age, things revert back to the childhood stage. And, like I told you, most of my male friends will call me when it's something like this to talk to me because they know I understand and get it. They like, look, I
Mhm.
can't call no other guy and have this conversation like, look, my dad is flipping out. I don't know what to do. And, I find it, Felice, that's so interesting that you said, like, oftentimes the sister or the daughter or somebody like that, they'll get it where the males might be the most resistant. And I thought that was perfect that you would say it like that, because it is a lot of my male friends that cannot wrap their minds around the fact that their mom or dad is not the normal that they're used to.
I think that's the biggest one. Because the person that calls me is the person that's like, okay, we need help. We need help at home. But it's that other sibling, usually that male. And I think so often, that cliche of, home care. I don't want anybody. My mommy don't need help here. Or we got this. That's the biggest thing I hear. We got this. But in reality, you really don't. You can't. It's really challenging to be there, especially as the disease progresses 24/7. It gets to a point where they may need 24/7 care. You cannot be there 24/7 to ensure that mom is not burning down the kitchen or doing this or doing that. And it can be taxing. And I think getting to the point where you realize that I need help. And for sometimes the males is opening up to realize we need help. We need someone to come in here and help. And also to realize starting off, you don't have to start off having someone come in for 8 hours a day. It could be what I call respite care. Respite care is just having someone in there 4 hours, 3 days a week to allow mom to adjust, or dad, whoever, to adjust to receiving care. But just start off slowly. But having that respite break is so important, because being a full-time caregiver is very taxing. And from what I've learned just in this industry, working with clients, a lot of times when that loved one is taking care of their spouse with dementia, with any kind of illness, with that, if you're not taking care of yourself, I've seen where the spouse passed away before the person they were taking care of. Or even with that child, absolutely, it happens every day. Or it becomes such a strain and taxing on you as that family caregiver, to
Yep.
where you don't have enough power, enough strength when it really gets to that point where mom or dad really needs that level of care. So I'm a proponent of having that respite break, even if in the beginning, because in the beginning, a lot of times you may not need anybody for 8 hours a day, but it's good to have someone, or at least come up with that plan of care. And that's what that dementia care plan is about. Having that plan of care. What are we going to do in this space? Then when it gets here, well, how are we going to manage it here? How are we going to manage it here? When it gets to the point where, because dementia is progressive and
Yeah.
it gets worse over time. So when it gets to level 4, where mom, and eventually that loved one is going to need 24/7 care. How are we going
Yep.
to manage mom's care when she needs 24? I have a person right now I'm working with, and it's at that point they need 24/7 care. They don't know exactly how to move about.
Yeah.
So it's important to have that plan early on, just so you know when it gets to this point, financially, what type of finances you have. That's a part of the dementia care plan. Also,
Mhm.
what options. So if you want to get some assistance, even if you don't need it today, you need it in 6 months, get the paperwork started. If you look and see what options you have with the Department on Aging, or if you're
Mhm.
a veteran, there are services through the VA. Get that paperwork started through the VA, but you want to get it started early on, so that later on, when you do need help, because eventually it gets to that point, either somebody's going to have to leave their full-time job and care for mom, or you're going to have to tag team, or you're going to have to hire someone, or you're going to have to figure out what options you got available. So it's good to know that information in the beginning.
You know what? I love you for that. I really do, because there are several friends of mine who have gone through this. Oh, this is a sweet comment for you. Millennial Vote says you are going to heaven, my darling. You are. That's why I made you a guest tonight, because we do need to have these critical conversations like this. We really do.
Thank you.
Several of my friends who have recently gone through this, the one thing that I love about them is they say, hey, chat, I need you to get me back to my normal life. You know what I'm saying? Because I've seen them work full-time jobs. I've seen them run 2 households. I've seen them lose their hair. Eating habits have, I have a couple of friends who say, listen, I need you to take me out and let me just have a wild and crazy day or afternoon or evening or whatever, because my normal routine is 24/7 taking care of my mom or dad. And so I get it. I understand it 100%. And having a mom who had early onset dementia, and unfortunately she saw an untimely death, before it fully developed.
Right.
But it was really the most draining thing ever to know somebody who was quick with it, sharp dresser, all of that, was losing it over time. And it really it's heart-wrenching in many ways.
It is. Absolutely.
Real quick, I've had a couple of people hit me on my other pages that said, could you give the symptoms one more time before we log off tonight? Just the basic symptoms of how people might be on the lookout if their parent has early onset dementia or not.
Okay, so the early stages would be memory loss, but it's not really just, you forget where you leave your keys, but it could be you forget how to make that favorite meal that you've been making for the last 50 years. So it's something that has been ingrained in you or in us, and then all of a sudden you just totally forget how to do it. You forget how to dress yourself. That's another sign. I mean, they forget how to put their clothes on. Conversation sometimes they start talking, and their conversation, you're like, what is this about? You talk in circles almost. Constantly repeat too. When a person is constantly repeating themselves, they didn't say, I want to go to the store. Then 2 minutes later, I want to go to the store. You tell them, okay, we're going to go to the store. Then 5 minutes later, they tell you, I want to go to the store. So when you're constantly repeating the same thing over and over, it can be an early stage of it. Those are some of the early signs. Just the forgetfulness, but it's forgetting things that they've been accustomed to doing. Just eating, how to, make certain meals. They totally forget how to do that. Where they put certain things, or they misplacing. That's another sign. Misplacing, putting things in places where it doesn't belong. Putting your laundry bag in a refrigerator. It's like that's not normal. So when it's something that's totally abnormal, those are some early signs. But then as the disease progresses, as Chet mentioned, aggressive behaviors as well is definitely a sign. If you notice they're just being very aggressive, all of a sudden cussing you out or telling you off, or forgetting who you are, forgetting your name, forgetting how old they are, forgetting their name, forgetting your kid's name, and people that they had a relationship with, they've known all their life basically, all of a sudden they're forgetting. Those are some of the early signs that something is really going on, and it's time to take mom, dad, grandma, whoever to the doctor and have them looked at, checked out, so that that diagnosis can be made and that dementia care plan can get started right then and there, so that you don't have to wait until they start wondering. That's something we hear a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They wonder.
Well, let me say this to my audience. Now, if your mom is one of them women or daddy that cuss y'all out on a regular, you need to make sure that the new cussing out is just like, because we was in church and mama just turned around and cussed me out. Right. But a lot of y'all come from mamas that already cussed you out.
Well, yeah, mama been cussing you out since you were 10 years old, then that's normal. But if it's something, if mama never cuss, right? You don't hear mama cuss like that. All of a sudden, mama call you every name, and you're like, mama, when you start cussing, it's funny in the beginning, but it's like, wait a minute, there's something going on. So if mama never cussed you out, all of a sudden she called you bees and this and that, that's okay. But if mama always called you that, then yes, that's just mama.
Okay. All right. Well, honey, I love you. This has been amazing. Do me a favor. Tell this audience how they can find you, follow you, all that great stuff. And I'm going to have you back again because there are some other situations. Because, we'll talk because there's some other things I want to cover as well. You did an outstanding job tonight. Tell everybody how they can find you and all that great stuff.
Okay, so my website is www.nancyshomecare.com. So that's where you can find me online. I'm on Facebook as well at facebook.com/Nancy's Home Care. So it's all one word, Facebook/Nancy'sHomeCare.com. And then you can reach me 773-236-5654. You can reach me by phone as well.
Well, you did an outstanding job, my dear. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to close out tonight's show. And I got some many people hitting me up on my text message talking about, right, if your mama cuss you out all the time, there's got to be a new type of cussing out. Exactly. It's right. Let it be a new type of cussing out. But you don't know, because I'm telling you, when my mother, her early onset, it was like, whoa, wait a minute. And then it was like, whoa, wait a minute again. But then it was combativeness. It was a lot of different things that went along with that. And it really it's very draining. It really, really is. There's one thing to be a feisty old man and a feisty old woman, but when it starts getting to be at a level that you're like, oh my God, this is just crazy, so and that's how it all works. Do me a favor, give everybody the website. They needed to get pen and paper. A couple of people have hit me up and said, give them the information again. Go right ahead.
Okay, so the website is www.nancy'shomecare, one word, Nancy's, NANCYS, homecare.com. HOMECARE. So nancy'shomecare.com. My Facebook handle is www.facebook.com/Nancy's Home Care. Once again, is one word. That's my Facebook. And then I can also be reached at 773-236-5654. And yeah, you can find me at Nancy's Home Care. That's the name of the agency.
Very good. Well, you've done an outstanding job, my friend. I look forward to another conversation with you. Yes. Our co-host for tomorrow night, Mr. Brian Redmond, said he's excited to be here with me tomorrow evening. Everybody is just saying tonight was just wonderful. Here we have a great show comment. That is coming in. You did a wonderful job tonight. So listen, everybody, please support my good friend here. If you need help in your home with your parents, loved ones, we've got to be able to take care of our aging population. We cannot just discard them and throw them to the wayside. It's best that we get the proper help. Oh, I'm sure I can only imagine, some of the stories and things that people would want to say and talk about. And it's like, look, take care of who birthed you and who raised you and provided you with a roof over your head, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of yet another wonderful show. I want to thank both of my amazing guests tonight. We had a wonderful time. Tomorrow night, we will continue to celebrate all things that is Father's Day. Don't forget to support our good friends over at Real Men Cook. This year, they're doing a virtual Real Men Cook celebration. They've been doing this for a number of decades. If you guys want more information about the 2020 Real Men Cook, I advise you to text the word Real Men Cook to 844-773-8392. Again, text the word Real Men Cook to 844-773-8392, and they'll give you all the details about the wonderful celebration that will be taking place this coming Sunday in honor of Father's Day and Real Men Cook doing what they do every year. Don't forget, Thursday night we'll get an exclusive from Real Men Cook of all of the wonderful things that they'll be offering on Sunday, which is Father's Day. All right. On behalf of all of my beautiful guests this evening, Felice, darling, you did a great job. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure, darling. Anytime. You guys have a beautiful night. Don't forget to wear your mask, wash your hands, keep social distancing. Bars will be opening up in Chicago tomorrow. I'm curious to see how many of y'all trying to get up in the damn bar when coronavirus is still out here. We are praying for Kwame Raoul and that he feels better soon. And that just goes to show you that we are in stage 3 and this young man has just been diagnosed with coronavirus. So it's still out here, it's still alive, and it's still well. And I want you guys to do the best you can to keep yourselves healthy and safe. I'll see you guys tomorrow night at 7 o'clock for the Wednesday night edition of the Real Chat Daddy Show. Don't forget to go over to Facebook. Don't forget to go over to YouTube, like the show, subscribe to the page. The more people I get to follow me, the better this show will become. Not that it's not already a great show. Free information every night that is helpful to you and your family. On behalf of all of my guests tonight, we want to say God bless. Wave to everybody. We love you. Have a great evening, you guys. I'll see you tomorrow night at 7 p.m. All right, in the broadcast.